Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Look at you, huh?
You recognize this?
I do. Holy smokes. How long ago did we build this?
I bet it's been 15, 16 years anyway.
Wow. Hey, you look good.
I feel good.
Yeah, better than a table.
Yeah.
It's got a little worse for the wear, although I'm surprised it isn't even worse than it is.
I am too. I mean, this is conventional lumber, KD, kiln dried.
Yeah.
Didn't stain it, didn't paint it, didn't do anything. The legs held up really great because they're pressure treated.
Right.
I wouldn't want to use pressure treated lumber where you're going to eat off of, at least for the first 3 or 4 months until it dries out. So, I mean, KD lumber, for what it is, it held up great.
Yeah, 2/3 of the boards are all right, and obviously some of it a little worse for the wear.
Yeah.
But, so what do you think? You might make a new one?
I think we need to.
Spend a lot of time eating at this table, so we should.
Yeah.
Same design, or you want to mix it up?
We could change it if we want. I mean, it's pretty basic. Picnic table is a picnic table. We can use a simple tool. We can use a circular saw, a square, and maybe a speed square and build the whole thing.
All right, well, I'm in.
All right, we're gonna start by working on the top. We've taken all the 2x8s and put the best side down, the worst side up, because we're obviously gonna see that when we flip it over.
Mm-hmm. And then putting them together, what are you thinking?
Well, I've made a 2x4 cleat right here, and there are gonna be 3 of them. They're gonna go like that.
Okay.
And basically bevel the edge right here, so when you sit at the table, you won't have a sharp edge that could hit your side or your knee when you jump in. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find the center of this. These are 8-foot long 2x8s. So I'll measure into the center. I'll pick 48 1/4 because these are actually long. I'll divide this 2x4 in half, which is 3 1/2, so I go 1 3/4 on each side of the line, 3 1/2 and 3 1/2. That will give me the location for our 2x4 to go on. Draw a line across.
Ooh, big reach.
So now we know the location for our centerpiece. The end down here, we're going to have one, and it's going to be about 16 inches in. We're going to use an exterior construction adhesive, and the nice thing about the construction adhesive, it actually activates a little better and faster because the wood is damp or wet. The screws that we're using are actually framing screws used inside or outside. They're self-drilling. There's a tip on it that cores the hole out. They have a nice coarse thread that really grabs the wood nicely. All right, now we'll just straighten and square up the end with the track saw. Beautiful. All right, now we're ready to start making up our legs, our A-frame, to support the table and the bench. We want the table to be 30 inches high overall. So establishing the angle for the legs, a good rule of thumb is 20 to 30 degrees in between those numbers. The higher the number, like 30, the wider the stance for the leg, which gives it more support.
Right.
So let's say you have 4 people sitting on this table and you had a leg that was in pretty straight. There's a pretty good chance that this table's going to tip over.
Yeah.
All right. So you have it wide, it gives a stance so that you can sit there. So let me show you. If I do, this is 28 degrees.
And how do you know that?
Well, I checked it with my square. It's around 28 degrees right there.
Showing right there.
Yep. And just to show you the difference in the angle, this is 25 degrees, and it's going to give me the same height of the table, but the degree changes with the leg. See, you can see the angle there.
Yep.
And this is 20 degrees. So now you see that the legs are completely different. Now, the other thing you really have to think about is the front edge of the seat and the edge of the top. You want to be able to get in and out of the table comfortably and sit there for a long period of time comfortably. So you don't want the edge of the seat flush with the edge of the top. It's about 4 inches. That's a nice number. If it's in like that, then you've just made the space to get in and out smaller, and it's harder to get out.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that we're going to do also is I want to make our new bench seat wider. I'm going to use the 2x8s. So we're going to take two 2x8s, and that's going to establish the length that we need. If I put my 2x8s tightly together because they're wet, and I send a tape measure over to you, and you hook it on the outside edge, and I measure from outside to outside, I have 74 3/4 of an inch. That would be the length of our center A-frame support. But we don't want it to come all the way out. We want to have a slight overhang. In other words, keep it recessed in a 1/2 inch on each side or even an inch. So 74 3/4, if I take off 2 inches, that would be 72 3/4.
And so what are you thinking in terms of angle for the legs? You want to stick with the 28 or you want to mix it up just so we can sort of see how you calculate everything?
Let's go from 28 to 25.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, Pops, 125-degree angle, please.
Okay, so we're going to do 25-degree angle on the bottom of the leg. And to get the 25-degree angle, we're going to use a speed square. So I'll slide it over, pivot, hold it tight, and come over to 25 degrees right there.
Yep.
And I mark right here my line.
Okay.
All right. And that's 25 degrees off of 90 right here.
Perfect, I got that.
Okay.
But you said that we want the table to be 30 inches high, right?
30 inches is a nice height for a table.
So how do we get 30 inches, you know, when this leg is at an angle to make sure that it's 30 inches above the ground?
Right. So what we're going to do is we have the level line on the ground, and we're going to have a level line for the table underneath the top.
Okay.
All right. So parallel cuts
Yeah.
at 25 degrees. So that means I have to go 90 degrees to give me a plumb line up off of the ground.
Okay.
Okay, so now if I hold my square on this line right here, and you take your tape measure and you hook it right here and just hold up. Now, see the 30? Now, without pivoting out, I'm going to slide this out. Now keep your tape measure parallel with the edge of the framing square.
Just 30
Just
right
put
there.
a mark, a small mark or an arrow point. That's to the top of our top. We have to think about the thickness of the top, which is 1.5 inches.
Right.
Okay, so now you could just come down 1.5 inches, or what I would do is I'm using a framing square, and I know this dimension of the framing square is 1.5 inches. So I would take my framing square, I put a 30 right there with another little ding.
So there's 2 right there, and remarkably, they are 1.5 inches apart.
All right, so now we know that this and this have to be parallel, so speed square come out again. So now I'm going to take it, I'm going to slide it up, get to my 25 right here, and now put your mark.
So just so I'm clear, when we cut these, even though that leg's going to be at an angle, the distance from ground to the top, less this thickness, that's going to give us a 30.
Right, because we took it all off of 90 degrees.
You've done this before.
Level and plumb.
Okay.
And we have one more thing we want to do. The top of the finished bench from the ground is going to be 17 inches.
And so that bench is going to sit on the cross bracing that will attach to these legs.
And this cross brace is going to hold everything together and the weight of the people and the seats.
So you want to mark for that?
We're going to mark for that. We're going to break out our framing square again, and we're going to use our plumb line up, okay? Slide it down because we know we have 1.5 inches right here. Put it on, mark it on the line, exactly on the line, and put a little ding mark. Okay, now we go back to our speed square, we go back to our pivot point, and we go back to our 25, slide it up, keep it tight, and mark it.
So this line, the top of our cross bracing,
Exactly.
which means our bench will sit on top of that.
And this is the length of our legs. And we mark it template.
And we can cut.
And now we can cut. I'm going to add 2 carriage bolts on each leg to stiffen it right up. We got to stiffen this up. I mean, a lot of people sitting on it, we want to make sure it stays stiff. We're going to do that with 2 boards.
I'm square, plumb here.
Okay,
Yep.
don't move it. We'll do the same thing over here.
So I just gave it a light sanding to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks almost identical to the last one and nice and sturdy.
Nice and sturdy, subtle changes, 2x8s over 2x6s. Seats a little wider, and the legs have a little bit different angle.
So we left the last one unfinished. What do you think about this one?
Well, I mean, what did it last? 15 to 17 years without a finish.
Pretty good.
You could stain it, you could paint it. If you stain it or paint it, depending on what you use, you might have to redo it every 5 years.
So get a little extra life, but a lot more work.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So when I see a picnic table, you know, I only think one thing.
What's that?
Beers, burgers, grilling. You up for it?
Food, right?
Yeah.
I could have a burger.
All right. Well, listen, if you've got questions about your house, we would love to hear from you. So make sure you keep those questions coming. And until next time, I'm Kevin O'Connor
And I'm Tom Silva.
for Ask This Old House.
It's a turning apron. That's not going to fit you anyways.
You know what they call a hamburger that's been turned, Tommy, right?
What?
A hot dog. What do you want? Hot dog or hamburger?
Oh my gosh.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button. Make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.